Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Behind the Bylines. I'm your host, Stephen Kister, and we have another very special guest today. We have Daniela White, Collegian news editor. Thanks for coming, Daniela.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited.
Awesome stuff. How are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Good,
Yeah.
good. But yeah, so we talked a little bit before coming on here. You're from Maryland.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you can just kind of go up, growing up in Maryland and coming to Penn State, what was that kind of like?
Yeah, I loved it. Growing up, my parents actually went to Penn State.
Ah,
So
there you
my
go.
top schools were Maryland or Penn State.
Very
They
good.
were both high on my list, but yeah, I just ended up feeling more at home here, always coming here over the summer, over the years. So yeah, I just felt more at home at Penn State.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, so obviously a sophomore here now, studying, as you said, digital print journalism and as well as English.
Mhm.
So where did that kind of come from? Where did you get those two majors from?
Um, as a kid, I've always loved to write. Like I always
Nice.
wrote stories and journals and things like that. But I kind of thought if I wanna write, I kind of have to do that in a more production value kind of thing,
Sure.
so journalism, that's where journalism came from, and then, yeah, I just fell in love with both English and journalism, so I just decided to pursue both.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so obviously, over your time here, you've done a lot in your sophomore through your sophomore. I'm pretty impressed. Obviously, starting off, actually writing for Calliope Literary Magazine.
Oh, Calliope, yeah.
Calliope. Okay, yes. Actually, fascinating stuff. I encourage all you guys
Mhm,
listening to check this out. It's a literary magazine done by Penn State. Obviously, I know there's a couple of different ones they do. You obviously wrote for Calliope.
mhm.
What was that like? How'd you hear about them?
I first found out about it from their other little things, Clio,
Yes.
from a professor, and where you submit like online stories for their online edition.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about Calliope at first, so that's how I found out about it. Then I applied to be on their like fiction committee staff, and I also submitted my own stories, which thankfully got in. Yeah, they
Very
got
good.
accepted. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, that was towards your freshman year.
Mhm.
So what was that process like? Obviously, getting accepted and then writing your first stories for them. What were you kind of focusing on? What were your kind of goals?
I just really wanted to share my ideas to the world and see if they were worth value, to see if like I did have like the chops to like do this in real life, I
Yeah.
guess. And it was just really nice to see like all the hard work rewarded because I spent a while on those stories that I submitted. So it was just really nice seeing those get appreciated, I
Yeah,
guess.
absolutely. And what were some of those stories like? Were you kind of focusing on?
Um Honestly, kind of like darker stories.
Yeah. Hey, I have
Like
appreciation for that.
yeah,
Like
darker
Edgar Allan Poe,
topics.
those type of things.
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely
I like that.
no happy endings, but I like complicated
Yeah.
endings. They leave room for interpretation, things
Yeah.
like that.
Do you have a favorite one so far?
Um, oh, one of them is it's like the summer of tomatoes and smugglers. It's
Mm,
kind of inspired by my grandparents who live in El Salvador, and my
nice.
grandfather just told us a really random story, and I was like, "Oh, I'll take inspiration from that."
Yeah.
And it's probably one of my most favorite stories of all. Yeah.
Yeah. So where obviously so the idea came derived from your grandfather,
Mhm.
but how did you kind of make it your own? What was that like?
I kind of just took inspiration from the people in my life and
Mm,
just drew those into the characters. And once I just started writing about that one topic, it just kind of flowed out of me.
yeah,
It just like came to me. I don't know. Yeah.
that's awesome. So is that something you'd want to like pursue in the future, make authoring short stories and maybe even poetry?
Yeah, I'd love to be an author. Like
Mm,
that's like kind of my main aspiration in life. It's very hard to do so, so that's where journalism comes in
sure.
as kind of my piggyback, but yeah, I'd love to just write a book one day.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And would it be like horror or would it be like just kind of
Um
dark humor maybe?
Kind of, yeah, or like any type of fiction. I
Yeah.
love to write fantasy, but I kind of hold that close to my heart. Like
Yeah.
only my dad has read what I've written so far of that, but and
Very
my brother,
nice.
but yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. Do you have any like authors that you kind of look to for inspiration?
for sure Suzanne Collins. Her new
Nice.
novel came out,
Yeah.
read it in a day, cried for 20 minutes. It was just
Awesome.
so good. And
Awesome.
I love how she takes like kind of the political climate and she puts it into the book
Yeah.
and it's kind of viewing where our world could lead to. It's very
That
interesting
is
to
that
read.
is actually very good.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge reader myself. I obviously love podcasts. So I listen to more of that, but that actually sounds pretty darn cool, not gonna lie. I may have
Mhm.
to check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of moving along here, start out Calliope, as you said,
Mhm.
and then you kind of moved into the Collegian. You start off as a news reporter, actually. So what was that like? Where did that come from?
Yeah, my first week here, I heard about it, or I heard about it originally before even attending here,
Right.
and I was like, "I have to join," because my dad always said, yeah, back in his day, everyone always picked up a copy on the way to
Yeah.
class,
Yep.
so I thought I
Same here.
really wanted to join that,
Yeah.
and yeah, I joined my first semester as a freshman. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I was kinda just thrown into it, but thankfully, like, I had great editors, so it helped me move in smoothly, but yeah, I liked it a lot,
Awesome.
definitely.
So I'm curious actually, who are your first editors?
It was Ella Casanueva and Amy Schaefer.
Same.
Yep,
Yep,
yeah.
I had them both. That's why I asked. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're awesome. And of course, Amy went on to become is the current
Yes.
editor in chief
Mhm,
and now being the new business manager for
mhm,
2025, 2026. Yeah, so that's awesome.
mhm.
Actually, I want you to talk a little bit more about that. What was, having Amy and Ella as your two first editors like?
It was amazing. I definitely learned so much from them.
Yeah.
I took whatever they said into my heart, and I really, like I made sure I did not wanna mess up at all.
Yeah.
So, I really took all their revisions, all their ideas and remarks into heart, yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm,
Awesome. So what are your first kind of stories like? I mean, I know obviously from being from new staff, you can kind of
mhm.
choose what you want to write about. What did you kind of target?
Well, I made the dumb decision of doing a really hard story for my first ever story
Nice.
as a candidate. It was about, like, fake IDs
Oh
downtown.
wow.
So, of
There you
course,
go.
that put up with some trouble with sourcing,
Yeah.
but I really like kind of, like, not controversial topics,
Mm.
but more like you have to think about it and really try to seek out those sources.
Yeah, a little bit more like investigative reporting.
Yeah, for
Very
sure.
nice.
And then, yeah, I transitioned to more, like, cultural and
Sure.
identity beat, so more of, like, underrepresented groups, reporting about them, sharing their stories, that's what I really loved the
Nice.
most.
And do you have a favorite story you've done so far for that as well, or?
Probably any of my articles with SJP, Students for Justice
Mm.
in Palestine here,
Nice.
because they just have so much to say, and I really wanna get their words out and their
Right.
stories out,
Right.
and they're just great community to work with, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so, went from, news reporter and then moved to the social team.
Mhm.
What was that transition like?
I just thought I wanted to, like, dip my toes into anything I can
Yeah,
here, and social team seemed like a lot of fun, really cool. So, I didn't really do that much on it. I just did like the promos and
sure.
stuff, but it was good. It was interesting to see like the other side of what we do instead of like writing.
Yeah,
You have to like kind of market it and post it for
right.
people to actually see and read. So that was cool working with all those people. Yeah.
Awesome. And so did you do, like, a little bit with, like, Instagram, TikTok, all those things, or?
I mainly did on, like, Twitter and
Okay.
Instagram, but, like, during Thon, we were short on people, so they had me, like, film a few reels.
Okay.
So that was fun, and that was
Nice.
interesting, yeah.
Nice. Did you ever do anything on air, or was it mostly just behind the scenes?
Mainly just behind the scenes,
Nice.
or I was on the camera a couple of
Okay.
times,
Nice.
but
Very cool.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
fun.
that's awesome. And then, yeah, so obviously went from social team member to news editor and have
Mhm,
kind of been a news editor ever since.
mhm.
Um, I've seen a few people make this transition. What was the, kind of your motivation there going from news reporter to socials to news editor?
Um, I honestly just wanted to push myself
Yeah.
and see if I can handle it. I always felt like I was good at editing, I guess. I always
Yeah.
saw the details that would miss in my work or other people's work. So I thought it would be a cool experience to try to push myself and get on the other side of writing instead of strictly writing. I
Sure.
see all the mistakes and try to make it the best it can be.
Yeah. And so I'm
Yeah.
curious, obviously, digital print journalism as well as the English major.
Mhm.
Are there any things that you take from your time at the Collegian and apply it to your writing in English more style or vice versa?
Um, honestly, not that much
Yeah.
aside from like grammar. Like I
Sure.
feel like my grammar can be one of the strongest in my classes because I work in editing so much.
Right.
But it is very, like, distinct because journalism, it's very, like or articles, you have to do, like, short, concise sentences,
Right.
but in my writing in English, it's very long and
Right.
flowy. So it is, like, cool how I can, like, distinguish both and
Right.
separate them.
Yeah, it's like 2 different sides of the spectrum, but that's really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, you just got hired actually as a reporter and editor for the Med Shadow Foundation, which, I
Yes.
was doing research on. That's very cool what they do,
Mhm.
looking at maybe underreported side effects of over-the-counter drugs
Mhm.
and, dietary supplements and stuff like that. Where'd that come from?
I I wrote a few articles about, kind of more healthcare kind of things,
Okay.
on the Collegian. So I thought when I saw the email they're looking for spring internships, I
Yeah.
was like, I'll apply, why not?
Yeah.
And then I got it, and it was really cool. Like, first they had me look through the articles, pick out things for socials, and then now I'm actually writing an article for them. So
Very
it's
nice.
really cool. I like the topics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the I mean, if you can talk about what's the
Mhm.
article you're writing right now?
Yeah, it's about how college students take non-prescribed Adderall to help with
Oh,
their work
yes.
and how it's like misused or misheard as like a study drug,
Sure.
which it shouldn't be, but
Right. Right.
yeah, and I've been interviewing like doctors, professionals, and also students who have taken it
Yeah.
or who have ADHD and their stance on it.
Yeah. I actually used to take Adderall,
Mhm.
but now I'm on something else. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's awesome. And so is that something you'd want to pursue as well, like medical writing, or is that something that you're kind of just doing for the time being?
Kind of both.
Yeah.
I thought it would be just for the time being, but I find everything very
There
interesting,
you go.
and coming up with my own ideas and actually doing research on it, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So I'd be up for anything, honestly. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I did a few stories like that in my time. They're actually research stories are probably some of my favorite stories I've written at the Collegian.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's awesome. But yeah, so obviously you've talked about your aspiration would probably be to be an author.
Mhm.
Um, how far would you want to take that? Like would you want to be like, become a New York Times bestseller? Like what are your kind of goals?
Yeah, that's the goal,
Yeah,
honestly. That would be just amazing to see, like, my name even published on the cover of a book
yeah,
to be sold, like, in Barnes& and Noble or something.
yeah.
That would be, honestly, the very top goal in my life, yeah.
Awesome.
But, if the opportunity came and if my writing was good enough, for sure, I would do that as a career
Yeah,
because some people do that as a career.
absolutely.
So, yeah, I'd be down for that if it came up, yeah.
Sure, absolutely. And would you do like a series you think, or would you kind of just bounce around?
Yeah, I started actually writing, like, a little book
Oh yeah.
over the summer. It's, like, 600,000 words right now.
Wow.
So, I had, like, a series in mind in
Yeah.
my head. It's just fun for right now, but
Sure.
for sure, like, I can see that happening.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so would that be again like what type of series would you be thinking?
Well, it's fantasy right now,
Okay.
so probably,
Nice.
like, 3 books or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
just yeah.
And so I'm actually curious, what did your parents study at Penn State?
My mom studied education, so she's a
Okay.
teacher right now in
Cool.
Maryland, and my dad studied, I think, psychology, but then he got his, like, MBA, so now he, like, works at a bank or something
Okay.
right now,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Has
yeah.
there been any inspiration from them in terms of maybe just growing up or like what their education was?
Um, Not really in terms of, like, what I'm studying right
Yeah.
now, but I always looked up to them for anything, like, their work ethic, all of
Awesome.
that, yeah.
And so do you have any siblings?
I have a little brother, yeah,
Okay.
he's a senior in high school.
Nice, nice. And he goes to school in Maryland, I assume?
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice, very nice. Does he know where he wants to go?
Yeah, he's going to Indiana.
Mm,
Yeah, he
okay,
didn't wanna go here,
that's fair.
but it's alright.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I come from a long line of Penn Staters myself. I'm a
Yeah.
third generation.
Mhm.
And my sister was like, "No, I'm not going here. I'm going to Westchester."
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some of the more notable stories I found that you did. You wrote an article on Mercedes becoming the new editor in chief of
Oh,
the Collegian.
yes.
Did you ever have her as an editor?
Yes, I
You
did.
did. Okay.
Yeah, twice,
Oh wow.
spring semester and then over the summer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
What was that like?
she was amazing. I look up to her so much,
Yeah.
like, I wanna be her, like, she's great, like, she's just so great with her edits, and her work ethic is, like, second to none, like, she's
Yeah.
great,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's awesome. I had her at hers myself, I
Mhm,
think, let's see, 2 semesters ago.
mhm,
Yeah, before she went abroad, but yeah, no, she's awesome. And the other thing I wanted to ask, you did an article actually on Penn State's first Black graduate,
mhm,
Calvin Waller.
mhm.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
gotta say, how'd that come about?
I think I think it might have been, like, on the budget sheet where we can choose the
Right.
stories, and I just picked it, and I ended up talking to these, like, incredible people.
Yeah.
Like, Daryl Daisy, he founded, like, the Black History page for Penn
Mm,
State where he, like, shows all of the people, like, the Black students who, like, made a difference at Penn State,
yeah,
and it was just really eye-opening to, like, talk about all of that with him.
awesome.
Mhm.
And so, that actually, kind of brings up a question for me. Would you do something like that for like, maybe like write about stuff like that in your books, something like that? Maybe target uh lesser appreciated. Um, cultures and stuff like that?
I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, when I wrote that little short story, it was, like, a lot of El Salvadorian culture,
Nice.
which my mom is from there.
Yeah.
But, I would honestly love to do that, and I feel like I have been doing that, just,
That's
like,
awesome.
making the characters more diverse in the
Right.
stories and showing more culture, for sure.
Yeah, so and actually, what has that been like, you know, growing up? Obviously, your mom's from El
Mhm.
Salvador. I forget where you said your dad's from.
From here.
Oh, from
Yeah.
here. Very good. Yeah, so
Pennsylvania,
oh,
yeah.
okay. But yeah, so how has that been like, growing up with a mom from El Salvador?
Mhm.
Yeah, what has that been like?
Honestly, I didn't grow up, like, learning a lot of, like, the customs.
Right.
I feel like, I, like, lived in a suburb, but it was a very diverse suburb, like,
Mm,
my high school was a 30-30-30 school, so, like,
wow.
30% Black people, Hispanics, and then Asian,
Yeah.
Pacific Asian, whatever.
Okay.
So I grew up around, like, diverse communities for sure, but, yeah, I also grew up, like, just going to my grandparents, they're speaking in Spanish to my mom. I didn't
Mm,
grow up speaking Spanish.
yeah.
I learned it in school, but
Okay.
now I can, like, understand
Yeah.
them when they're talking. But, yeah, it was nice, like, seeing both sides.
Yeah. And the Collegian has, I think, a very good presence, especially in DEI,
Mhm,
and also, representing under or misrepresented
mhm.
cultures and demographics. What has that been like for you as part of the Collegian?
Yeah, I just wanna do my best that I can to share these stories from
Mm,
marginalized communities because it is a PWI here,
yeah.
so there's not a lot of recognition for them, I feel like,
Mm,
so just getting their stories out and just showing more representation towards them is something I aspire to do here.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so, have you done anything from like Latin American month, or is that something you've looked into? Or,
I think I tried doing a story, like,
mm,
last semester, but the sourcing was, like, getting
oh, I
bad,
hear you.
so I had to drop it, but yeah, that's something I really want to look forward to doing more, and I put stories in the budget sheet as an
Sure.
editor to give other reporters a
Yeah.
chance to share, but yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And so, is there anything you would do outside the Collegian to, maybe help that get people's stories heard?
I haven't really this is bad, I haven't really thought about it that
Hey, it's all
much,
good.
but I also can't really be in organizations if I wanna edit about them
True.
or report
True.
about them, but I totally would,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally hear you. And yeah, so something I like to ask my guests as kind of a tradition to kind of end off.
Mhm.
What would you tell a freshman coming into Penn State? What advice would you give them?
Just take hold of every opportunity that comes your way. You never know what joining one club or, like, meeting a friend will do for you. It could
Yeah.
totally change, like, the trajectory of your life, like yeah, just take hold of every opportunity you can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just about all I have. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, of course, thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. All right, guys. That's been another episode of Behind the Bylines here with Steven. I'll see you all next week with our next guest. Thank you so much for taking the time.